You might know Jeremy Dinsmore as the co-host of the popular podcast Antler Up, but he wears more than just one hat. His roles include husband, father, teacher, content creator, and athlete. And to be good at all of those, it requires discipline, intention, and grace. Are you ready for a great conversation on how to balance it all? Episode 10 of the Fit to Hunt podcast, powered by Wilderness Athlete, starts now. Hey, good evening there.
Good evening, Jeremy.
I think third time's the charm maybe on this one. We've tried.
Hey, man, that's all we could do in this world anymore with the hustle and bustle between the kids and jobs and just everyday life. So third time is a charm. We're here. We're recording. We're good to go. I'm excited for this conversation, man. So thank you for having me on.
It's a pleasure. I think I came on your show, gosh, it's been a while, but I'm always following the people that we know and we've talked to and stuff like that. And you juggle a lot. Like, tell me again, refresh my memory of all the things that are going on in your world, from professions to homes to shows to you name it.
Absolutely. Well, it's definitely a full plate between, obviously being at home, a husband, a father, and a teacher. I guess you could kind of say content creator, also podcaster, and trying to balance, all those things is something that I've had to learn through definitely a lot of trial and error. So definitely, I would say those are the main gists of the hats I'm wearing right now. I'm trying to think from when I had you on, if I was still coaching or not. So at the time, a couple of years ago, I'm now, this will be my fourth season. So I don't think I was. I think I was done coaching at the time when you and I finally had a conversation when I had you on. But I was a coach for varsity baseball for couple years, but within that program as an assistant coach, whether it be a head coach of the JV program for a couple years, a varsity assistant, then I became the varsity head coach. So overall, I was in that program for 8 years. And doing that also at the same time, I would say take year one of baseball, I was also coaching middle school football, which I did for 4 years as well. So that was, between, I didn't have the podcast just yet. I think that would have been, might have been like 2-3 years prior to starting that. But I did start it in 19, that fall of 19, and kicked off really the first episode of January of 2020 before all the COVID madness and everything. But so I coached and did a lot. Did a personal training and did, obviously substitute teaching before I got the teaching gig. So yeah, man, it's been a lot on my plate, but right now it's mainly dad, husband, and teacher, and I do a little bit of content creation for certain companies in the hunting industry. And then obviously, like I said, a weekly podcast that I've been doing since now will be coming up to 6 years this January, which is crazy to say that.
Which, hats off to you, because I mean, we're doing one episode a month right now, and I don't know if I would have the bandwidth. And I feel like I'm a guy that has bandwidth, but this is different. It takes a lot of effort too, and I'm still learning the ropes with lighting. And I mean, to be perfectly transparent, this was something that scared the heck out of me until one day someone said, just do it. It's not that hard to like set it up initially. I think there's obviously room to improve by all facets, but
Right.
But again, hats off to you for doing this on a weekly basis, because that's a challenge.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's a lot of, what I'm hoping that we could get into is, being very intentional with our time. And, I would definitely say the last couple of years, it's funny how things go in ebbs and flows with the podcast.
Right.
Like for me personally, I mean, man, there's times where I'm, like you said, that growth aspect of it, man, it's a really cool thing, because I think we are cut from that same cloth. A lot of us are, whether it be what has the experiences we've gone through growing up and where we are now in adulthood at our age or whatever it be. There's just so many things that we all have a lot in common. And I feel like our I don't want to categorize, but like our group of people, we're never satisfied. We're always striving to be better. How can we improve? And this is just another kind of aspect of that world of wanting to get better. And it's cool that, you touch a little bit of creativity that you may not know is actually there. And when you see it happen and you get told like, hey, that's a really cool, good job, or I love listening, or that conversation was really cool. And it makes you feel good because you're making an impact in some small fashion. And that's what's really important. And it's why for 6 years, why I still strive to do that. And sometimes I may not be my best foot forward and wish I could, why I wish I could have asked this, or I could have done this better. But that's why there's always next week.
I think the first moment that it felt like I did that good job was I had traveled up to Wisconsin this summer to the Beast Mode Archery Challenge. They had their King of the Hill 3D shoot, and this was an acquaintance that I've seen up at these shoots before, but he personally sought me out and told me that it's on his, again, this is how new I am, I guess, subscription, right? It notifies him when a new episode comes out, and it was really humbling, right? I was like, that's awesome. I was like, thank you so much for listening. I mean, I think we have a big part of Jeremy, why we want Jeremy's weird. I have trouble saying my own name. So when I'm talking to you, Jeremy, social media can give people like this much of what you are. So what we thought was, what if we were able to do a short podcast, bring people on who kind of to what your just description, we wear a lot of hats or we have a lot of challenges or whatnot, and be able to really talk about those things. It might help people do this, right? And grasp onto it. So that was really the impetus for why we decided to do a show.
That's awesome.
Like this. Yeah. So one thing I want to ask you right out of the gate, because we're watching over social. You've gotten back into training again, haven't you?
Yeah.
So talk me through that. I mean, you're, and not just doing it. I mean, you're kind of chronicling this throughout the summer. I noticed that. I mean, you're a PE teacher, but that doesn't mean you're in great shape. So, I mean, I know that, right? So, walk me through kind of what got you back into doing this with all the hats and balls that you have at this point.
Yeah, I honestly, Jeremy, for me, I do want to kind of go maybe to that origin aspect of it, that origin story, just because I think it gives a little bit more meaning behind it.
Okay.
And I won't go long winded with it. I mean, let's just do it this way. My oldest daughter is 11 years old. She'll be 12 this upcoming March. And prior to her being born, I went back to school, and I already had a degree at that point. I went back to school to get my kinesiology degree with the certification to teach. And what I ended up doing was, at that point in time in our area, it was difficult to get a teaching job. So, but with the background, I ended up going to get my personal training cert, and I got in really good shape. And it was probably the best shape that I was at that point in time of my life. I was mid 20s. And with that, I grew this passion and love for obviously training. And I was always a big Arnold fan, and just Franco Columbu, all those old school bodybuilders, classic physiques, and some of the new stuff at that point in time, like Phil Heath and Jay Cutler and all that stuff. Like those guys were just behemoths and just huge, and you respect them for what they were doing, but at the same time, it wasn't the physique that I liked and geared towards. I liked that old classic style. But so fast forward, my daughter was born, and I was, at that point in time, I wore a lot of hats. So I think I'm wearing a lot of hats now. Back then, I think I wore more. At one point in time, I had about 5 part-time jobs while my wife was already a full-time teacher. I was doing personal training, I worked at a hotel that I previously was a manager at, where I went from being a manager to being like a waiter basically. I was working at a gym, and I was doing substitute teaching, and then I was an assistant coach for track and field. So I had 5 jobs all at once. And I remember,
Wow.
I remember my first official paycheck as for being a teacher when I finally got hired. It was like more money than I was making at 1 month, just
Right.
as a working all those part time. But
Right.
through that time span, I ended up still training and still working out, and then those excuses crept in, like I just ran out of time, and dad life and working all those jobs, and everything kind of went to the wayside. And then I would get back into shape again, and then I would go back to the wayside. Like I couldn't maintain, I couldn't just be happy. And to be completely transparent, and I'm with it, I even mentioned this to my students now when I teach 11th grade health. I am an individual where I do suffer from like that body dysmorphia. And it's a struggle. Like my wife will be
Mhm.
like, I wish you just could see yourself the way I see you physically. And I know it's not healthy. I am getting better at it, and I am trying to do that, but I've always been like that since I was a little
Mhm.
kid. And it's not like this new thing because of social media. Man, I remember being young in my 10 years old, 11, 12, like, and just always comparing myself physically. Why don't I look like that type of ordeal?
Sure.
So, I've the last couple years of hunting, I just was like, man, I, I'm teaching kids. Yeah, I could handle my own playing activities and doing things and all that type of stuff. And I'm maybe working out, but I'm not sticking to a game plan. And finally, last February, dude, I just kind of put my foot down, and my best friend Jim, who has done a hell of a transformation the last couple
Mhm.
years of his life, and just seeing his passion that he's grown from it, and the things he's done and gone through. It's like, dude, I know what I'm doing. I used to coach people through it, and you know what I mean. And it's just like trying to take my own advice and take that step forward. And yeah, like you said, so this summer, I would say starting back last February, I stuck to a good plan. I kept track of my macros and my training,
Mhm.
and really, finally followed through. And this past summer, I built a garage gym, and really hammered home, and would wake up at 4:30 every morning to be done before the family would even be awake. So then that way I could spend time and not feel guilty to say, hey, can I can I go work out for that hour, and maybe a half, like an hour where I'm in the gym, and then maybe a half hour where I'm going for a run or doing cardio or
Mhm.
something along those lines. So I would get up every day between 4:30 and 5, and complete a workout, and right away I would be halfway done on my run, and my wife would text me and say, "Hey, baby's up," because we do also have a soon to be 2-year old also, so
Oh
big age
boy.
gap. So
Right.
like you said, man, this the last 2 years, I've coming up to a year, I've really tried to follow through and dedicate myself to it, and just be a little bit more gentle on myself too, and try to give myself some grace, and but really know that there's uh not necessarily like a end of the I don't have an end goal. I just
Mhm.
want to I want to just continue with this lifestyle that I preach to my students and to other people and friends. And I want to live that. And that's why like you said, that's really the ultimate reason why I did that. I just was tired of not following through, and in the back of my mind there was just something negative about always saying, and I know I could do it, so I'm just trying to
Right.
fulfill that.
And that gives me some chills because that's like every social media meme where you're getting up
Yeah.
before the sun rises, and you're doing it with an intent because you got this wife and these kids and these people that not only look up to you, you're going to lead them, but you're I've always subscribe to, if you can't take care of yourself, how do you take care of other
Others.
people?
Yeah.
I mean, so all of those things, um, you were talking in my head, I'm sitting there thinking, man, we need to make like a dad bod t-shirt, that tongue in cheek, because I I I believe that physical strength will eventually lead to mental strength, and all of those things that seem so challenging, like when you're balancing all that you're talking about you do in your life. People probably say the same thing to you. How do you do it? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I get up at 5. If I got a lot going on, the alarm clock goes at 4:30. That extra half hour is not that big a deal. Um, Jerry, I think there's a lot of folks out there that either don't understand that principle or don't have the discipline to obtain it.
Yeah.
One of those two.
Yeah. And it's not easy. It took me some time too. Like I said, I mean, it started from February, and I'm very fortunate, with my teaching schedule. We have a beautiful workout gym facility at work. So,
Hmm.
I was doing majority of getting back into my habits at school. And when it turned into like that summertime, I knew that's when I love the garage gym. I did have something, but I rebuilt it basically for the
Uh-huh.
summer, and I love getting in there and leaving the garage door down, getting hot and sweaty, and all that type of stuff. Like, I just love that atmosphere. And I like I said, I just you need to be intentional with your time. And you like you said, you might see memes, you might see these reels of guys doing that, and it is not for everybody. But at the same time, when you start small, and that first time that you get that satisfaction of seeing the results of the work that you're putting in, and I'm not talking just looking in the mirror or stepping on a scale and
Hmm.
all that type of stuff. I'm talking for doing the things that you absolutely love, like having more energy to spend time with your loved ones,
Hmm.
maybe enjoying the food that, because you are, your metabolism is finally up and running, and your hormones are flying on the way they should be flying. And, like for us, obviously we're hunters, man, that spring season of turkey season. And granted, I know I'm not carrying as much weight on my back as I do during the whitetail season. But
Hmm.
man, when we did that first hike up our mountain where me and my buddies have our camp, and I remember in the fall, like, dude, my knee sucked. My knee hurt. I was having this bad
Hmm.
pain. I wasn't in great shape and cardio shape. I remember I was making excuses. I'm like, oh man, you guys could go up on all the way to the top and down below on the backside. Like, I'll stay out here on the front. Like, I'll
Hmm.
just see what the deer are doing. And it was like, part of it was like, you're being a little baby. Like, I knew why I was doing that, because I didn't want to walk all the way up there. But this past spring, when we hit it, I mean, we hit that hard incline. I mean, I was walking, but I barely broke a sweat. And my again, one of my best friends, Josh, that we were tag teaming that turkey hunt, he was like, holy heck, man, like, you are flying up here. And man, that felt good. And like, again, that was that first, I mean, I knew I was doing really well. And just because, again, like, habit stacking, and my
Hmm.
habits were just continuously flying. Like, I wasn't even thinking twice of what I was doing. But man, when that moment of like, okay, that was like the first real test to seeing how you were going to perform and how you were going to see how you feel. Man, I felt great. I did great. And that was a really cool moment. It was like, I want to keep this. I do not
Hmm.
want to lose that. And that's what I've been striving for. And again, just more energy with my
Yeah.
girls, and that's been the great thing that I've absolutely loved most out of all.
How old's the oldest one?
So the oldest one's 11, and then, like I said,
She's
the other one will be 2 New
okay.
Year's Eve. So
Okay.
yeah.
No, but like, so our boys were in jogging strollers from the time, right? And I think the greatest compliment, first off, training with them is an absolute
Mhm.
blast. So whether she's doing it with you now or later, it's incredible. But from a leadership perspective, both of those boys go work out on their own, and it's gotten to a point where they will call me and they'll say, "Hey, I'm going to do squats today. What are a couple of like accessories that you throw in there?" But they're pretty much designing their own
Mhm.
routines, with the exception of my youngest, who he's a wrestler, and we got a very specific routine that he does. there's nothing more pleasurable than watching. You called it habit stacking. I like that
Mm-hmm.
term. There's nothing more pleasurable than them watching you do this and you model it, and then you sit there and you watch them do the same thing.
Right.
It's something else, man. Um, so have you been hunting a lot? I've not. I've gone out like maybe 4 times.
I've been a weekend warrior so far, and
Mhm.
that's kind of been also a big shift in my hunting style. I would say the last couple years, maybe since I started the podcast, those first 3.5, 4 years. I mean, any chance I took. But even going to that year, I think prior to when Carly was born, the baby,
Mhm.
I just, especially since she has been, with us, it's been like man, my daughter, my oldest has a lot more going on. The baby, my wife, I don't want to just leave her with, okay, go ahead, run Nora around and you take the baby. Like, I don't want to
Right.
do that. And,
Right.
and, they're just, I'm home more. I'm doing things. You know what I mean? Like I just become more of a weekend warrior, and that's
Mhm.
okay. Like I don't have no issues with that. And which is kind of, to be honest with you, I mean, there's been times where I'm like, man, I'm rather work out right now and get a lift in compared to trying to rush into the woods and just throw
Mhm.
up a sit blindly and be like, man, I could have been home. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like I could have
Right.
done this. And so that's already happened the last 2 years for sure. But that's where I'm at currently, is just mainly a weekend hunter. Now I'll have my vacation time coming up here soon where I might
Mhm.
take an extra day before the weekend. But again, being a teacher, like your wife, you know the deal. Like we don't get PTO, so
Yeah.
it's, I can't take those long big trips. I have to be, very strategic about those for weekends, and hopefully a long weekend with an in-service day or something like that, where we don't even have to report, like a holiday type thing. Those are
Mhm.
nice. So yeah, that's where I'm kind of been at, man. It's been a weekend warrior, and even even these last couple weekends where Pennsylvania, we finally got Sunday hunting this year, and
Mm.
I've been a huge supporter of that,
Yeah.
obviously being a teacher. But man, it's like some of those days, I love football. I'm a diehard Philadelphia Eagles fan. It's just where I
Uh-huh.
grew up, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, I don't want to miss the game,
Right.
or we have other obligations that we do in the mornings or whatever it be. And so I just kind of I've gone out once so far, I think, on a
Mhm.
Sunday, and that's about it. So here, I think it's great though for other people, but yeah, it's just mainly a weekend warrior,
It's
getting after it.
it's so funny that you mentioned that too, because I mean, one of the passions that I have right now is I've got a farm, and I love the habitat management. So like
Mm-hmm.
even last week I went out and I hunted in the morning, but didn't see anything. It started to get warm, so I had a couple of clover plots that I wanted to overseed. Well, the weather switched. It's in that 40s, 60s, and I don't have a ton of trail cameras, but I got a couple over a few of these plots. And over the last few days, deer have just started piling in. And I told my oldest, I said, it's getting right. If not
Yeah.
this weekend,
Yep.
next. Yeah. So we got one more stand I want to hang. Um, he's just itching to get out there. But up until this week, we have had nothing showing up. And I said, hey, why don't we, to your point, why don't we get some of these other things done instead of
Mm-hmm.
going in a situation that's less than ideal? It's hot. We're just spreading scent and educating these deer. Why don't we just time out and
Yeah.
just wait? And I think it's time. We're getting
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Do well, this is going to be interesting because if you started in February, this might be new to you, but do you make any type of an adjustment to your training in season as compared to summertime?
Honestly, I would say, compared to like even the summertime, I would say I'm actually doing a little bit more cardio.
More. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would say just a little bit, whether it be just throwing in an extra like little hit session, or
Hmm.
maybe throwing in just a couple more minutes on the Stairmaster. I mean, that's honestly, Jeremy, that's my favorite cardio machine.
Is it
I'm a
really?
Yeah, I know a lot of people are like, man, you're psychotic. But that has been my number one. I'm not a big fan of running. I don't
Right.
mind, but I'm a slow runner. I got, not to sound like weird or whatever, but like I got some quads on me. I'm short
Okay.
and stout. You know what I
Right.
mean? I just
Right.
just
Yep.
I'm if you could put me through a sprint workout. I'd rather do
Uh-huh.
that rather than saying, hey, we ready for that 5 miler today? I'll tell you, go pound sand,
Right.
type of ordeal. But man,
Right.
you give me a test on that stairmaster, I'm gonna go hard on it. And
Mhm.
that's why man, I with me with the terrain that I like to hunt with the mountains and
Mhm.
everything like that, there's nothing better than that stairmaster. And I'll do all different types of workouts on there where I'll either
Okay.
just do a steady state where I might throw it on a 10 and just go for
Mhm.
20 minutes and try not to adjust it very much or very
Mhm.
often. And then I'll throw a hit on there where I'll do 5 minutes at a slow steady, and then a 20 on like a Tabata style for like 10 rounds, and then end with five at a steady state for another 20,
Mhm.
where I would do like Tabata with that 10 rounds. And then I'll incorporate just maybe hit a X number of flight of stairs at a certain time and that type of stuff. So that's the one machine, man. I could just go, and I love it, and it's challenging. I feel like I'm actually working.
Mhm.
And again, the results in the mountain have been, showing it in that world.
Do you ruck at all?
So I do, that's the one aspect. I have a lot of I have a lot of places that I can ruck,
Mhm.
and you would think in the summer I would do that more. But I honestly, man, it's so weird. Like I said, I did the cardio that I enjoyed, and actually in the summer I tried to run more, and
Mhm.
that's what I would do. I would finish my workouts and I would just go on like a nice light morning run. It would be cool
Mhm.
because by the time, again, like when I would be done, and it would get like, I don't know what it was like in Missouri for you, but like here in Central PA in the summer, man, what, like once it hit 11, it started getting
Mhm.
hot. Like
Yeah.
we would even take the girls out a couple
Yeah.
of the days just because it was so hot. So, um, I my way of doing of the ruck would be challenging, like carrying some kettlebells, doing
Mhm.
some farmer carries and that type of stuff of more of that at home. But yeah, in years past though, I would throw my pack on, I would have it set up, and I would go do the stadium stairs, or I would
Mhm.
do various things like that. So not as much as I probably should, but that's where I kind of hopefully equal and balance it out with that stairmaster.
Well, the reason I ask is, just getting into the specifics of what we do. This probably was the summer that I ran the least, just put the heat. I
Yeah,
mean, the older I get, the less tolerant I am as far as going out. And I didn't get sick, but it didn't feel great.
right.
Jeremy, I started in between my strengths, so I like to do more total body, and in between is when I do the cardio. So what I started doing was 20 minutes of stair stepping,
Hmm.
right? Um, I would usually finish that off with like 10 minutes of something else. Maybe that is stationary bike. Just I got my heart rate up. Now I'm just going to keep it up.
Yep.
But then the majority was rucking. Now the interesting dynamic of this is that my running is not great right now, just from a speed perspective. I mean, I'm nowhere
Right.
near what I was, but my farm is pretty up and down as well. And
Hmm.
to your point, you were talking about during turkey season, how you just shot up there. I was climbing last Friday morning, and just that principle of specificity. I may not be a great runner right now, but from a hiking perspective and going up and over things, man, I got it. So it's just interesting. I was like, man, I can't. I'm getting old. I'm not fast as I was. And then I started thinking, but I'm not training to run. I'm training to traverse things. Right. That's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to do. I don't know that everyone, and there's nothing wrong with running. I was out. I ran today, but I still come back to, even when I've gone to, like, say, the Beast Mode Challenge, and we're hiking those. The running is great, but when you put that pack on and now you're doing things that are more Western style hunting, I guess there's translation to it, but it doesn't seem to translate to me as well as the rucking and
Yeah.
the stair stepping. That's what
Yeah.
seems to make the difference. And honestly, the hits. that
Yeah.
building that capacity. I think
Yep.
those are money all the way through it. So the show you're doing an episode a week right now.
Yep.
What's the goals for right now? What are you wanting to accomplish off of this?
Yeah. That's a great question. And honestly, I would say what it has been the last couple months and maybe a year and a half has just been like growth. And I don't mean growth
Hmm.
like more downloads and more audience. I don't mean that. It's more of like as a person, as an individual, as making an impact. Because I know one day, we me and my buddies, we joke, we say, that last episode is just going to be called Antler Down, because it's called Antler
Right,
Up.
right,
And
right.
so when that last episode of Antler Down comes about, I want that legacy to be like someone got better.
Right.
And if it was one individual over 300 plus episodes, hopefully someone, did that. So, I mean, honestly, Jeremy, my plan, my hope is continuously growth. That's again, like when we're just talking about the fitness side of things, I look at like I said, my best friend, Jim, the
Hmm.
growth that he's had and the impact that he's making on individuals and even myself.
Hmm.
I just want that to be like maybe like a different listen where it's not just tactics and strategies. Cause man, there's so many great podcasters out there that have been doing that for as long as me, as short as me, that just they got
Hmm.
a great niche or whatever. There's a lot of that. And to be completely blunt, that stuff bores me to a certain extent, right? Like
Hmm.
I love deer hunting. I love talking deer hunting. I don't get bored of that, but like I can't talk to 10 individuals about scrape hunting 10 weeks in a row.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
I just, to be completely honest, I'd rather throw in a little bit of hunting, throw in
Hmm.
some fitness, throw in just personal growth, throw in
Yep.
just BS stuff that we could just talk. Um, and honestly, like you were just saying, what we were talking about earlier on about the type of people like where we're cut from, and
Hmm.
that's just always wanting to improve and try new things, and whether it be, man, I've been always been saying I like making that content side. I love making videos. I love
Hmm.
doing the photography side of things. I always say, like we're just saying about the time, how much time do we have, and we got to be
Hmm.
intentional with that. I would love to see all the time and effort that I put into the podcast. What could I have maybe done a little bit more on the video side of things or the photography
Sure.
side of things? So yeah, so I think until we're antler down, I just want to continuously be just showing growth
Sure.
and even if it's just that little bit, that 1% better. I wasn't always a big fan of doing solo episodes, but you know what? I've come to enjoy those a little bit. I've come
Hmm.
to realize that um, some people do enjoy those. Like I get some
Right.
messages about that, and like this past week, I did do one of those, and I got more uh not feedback but more interaction on about it on social media than having other people on a
Sure.
couple of times. So it's just kind of like I don't know, it's kind of one of those things where I think you just know when
Hmm.
things might be over, and at this point in time I'm still wanting to get better, and that's where I'm at.
Well, so that being said, how can our listeners find you?
Yeah, so I would say, my number one social media platform is definitely Instagram. Just look up Antler Up Outdoors. I'm on YouTube, same thing, Antler Up Outdoors, um, Antler Up Podcast. I'm on the Sportsman's Empire with Dan Johnson, so from
Hmm.
Nine Finger Chronicles. Dan's been doing it for so freaking long; it's unbelievable. He just had over like 1,000 episodes a couple months ago, and
Wow.
Dan's, yeah, I don't know how Dan does it. If Dan is such a funny individual and he's a real person, and
Uh-huh.
he's just a good dude. I really enjoy Dan a lot. We did a cool little summer, obviously with me being a teacher. We did a podcast like I think for 6 weeks, like one episode a week for majority of the summer that we were able to do that and just talk deer hunting. We BS'd a lot and dad and what's the future hold and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I mean check me out over there as well. The Antler Up Podcast on Sportsman's Empire. You can find us on, like I said, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, you name it. It's there.
It's out there. Well, look, I of all people appreciate busy people. So Jeremy, thanks for popping on tonight, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate it. Thank you. And I'm telling you, anybody listening, and if you're questioning your ability and everything, I tell my students, believe in yourself and trust me, man. I tell my daughter and my wife and whoever will listen to me, you're capable of a lot, and you don't realize how much you could really do until you start really, putting that effort in, and take that effort and do it. Just push yourself, and trust me, you'll reap the rewards.
Absolutely. All right, man. Thanks. Have a great evening.
You too, Jeremy. Thanks.
I really like talking with Jeremy, and it is fun to see how other people juggle multiple roles and find ways to level up and be successful. And speaking of leveling up, I'm pretty excited to announce our new partnership with Maverick Hunting, which features a line of 2-piece plastic hard-sided blinds that are super easy to install, durable, and most importantly, affordable. I've wanted an elevated hard-sided blind for years, but could never justify the expense. That wasn't until we connected with Maverick a few weeks ago. To learn more, visit maverickhunting.com and use code FTH10 to get 10% off any blind you purchase. Well, that does it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and use it to formulate a game plan to help you become more effective at all the things important to you in your life. And if we can help you with a program, you can search through our menu of options at www.stayfittohunt.com. We would love to work with you. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. And as always, you stay fit to hunt.